There's a man running for the highest office in our land, and many, those who are smarter and wiser, dismiss him as a clown, but he's not a clown. He talks of how he, if elected, will make our country better, with very few specifics. But when he is specific, he scapegoats, he vilifies, he says that the targets of his hatred will violate our women and kill our countrymen. By now you know that these words are written about Donald Trump, but actually in a way they're not. I'd like to play an old magician's trick with you. You've seen the trick. There's a table and an object on the table that you, as a member of the audience, can plainly see. The magician puts his handkerchief in front of the object, then lifts the cloth, and either the object has disappeared or been replaced by another object. He, and the old magicians were virtually all men, lowers the handkerchief again, and when he relifts it, the original object is returned. When we return to the original words before I mentioned Mr. Trump's name, and we restate them, imagine that instead of a voter in the United States in 2015 or 2016, you're a voter in 1932 or 1933, and the country is Germany. In the 1930s, many inside and outside Germany thought Hitler was a clown or a thug, a third-class criminal. He talked about how he would make his country great again, with few specifics. But when he was specific, he scapegoated and vilified Jews, and those who were then known as gypsies and homosexuals and Poles and others. With regard to Jews, he specifically said that they were despoilers of German feminine virtue, and said they threatened Germany. He was no clown, and neither is Donald Trump. Though it may seem like a diversion, it is not, to talk about Sinclair Lewis. Lewis was the first American writer to win a Nobel Prize for Literature. You may not remember his name, but he wrote books you might recall. Babbitt, Main Street, and Aerosmith were the most famous. He died 6 years after the war in which Hitler was defeated. He wrote a good amount about our country. One of the things he said was, when fascism comes to America, it will be wrapped in the flag and carrying a cross. I can't help but think that this is important to consider. Mr. Trump began and has continued his campaign wrapped in the flag. Essentially, he's saying that this country is not very good. He's running to make America great again. Just as the earlier man appealed to his countrymen's patriotism, so does this man. But to fit more closely with the quote, even though he calls one of the books that have his name as an author his favorite book, he now refers frequently to the Bible. And it was reported recently that he's been carrying his Bible with him every day as he campaigns. He's appealing to patriotism, which on some level we all feel, and to religious zealotry, which many, if not most Americans, can relate to. But he appeals to something else as well. He appeals to racial bigotry. When he recently had a reporter from a Spanish-language station removed from his press conference, while that reporter, his name is Jorge Ramos, while that reporter was outside the press conference in the corridor, he was confronted by two supporters of Mr. Trump's when they asked Ramos, when are you going to get out of our country? As it happens, this country is Ramos's as well. He became a naturalized citizen in 2008. Another of Trump's fans asked a question at a town hall meeting, which you've probably seen or heard about, and that question contained within it the assumptions that President Obama is a Muslim and that Muslims were setting up concentration camps for non-believers in Islam. At the end of the question, the man, referring to Muslims, asked Mr. Trump, when will we get rid of them? We're looking into that, began Mr. Trump. He never corrected the assumptions, and by that answer, further vilified another group. If Mexicans are Trump's Jews, Muslims are his gypsies. He is no clown.